Council, come to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mandy, would you please call the roll?
Reynolds.
Here.
Butler.
Here.
Hopkins.
Here.
James Island.
Here.
Young is absent and Carlstone will be joining via phone.
Okay, the City Council has adopted a code of civility. As elected officials, we pledge to promote civility through extending respect to others, listening to understand, disagreeing without disrespect, engaging collaboratively, and speaking up to address incivility. And as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and broadcast for Pella TV, so anyone who wishes to speak to council needs to approach that podium and microphone before speaking so that those at home can hear and see. Can I get a motion for approval of the tentative agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Van Strylen, Branderhorst, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
James Island.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. I would like to appoint Jill Jansen to the Historic Preservation Commission. Jill has extensive personal experience in historic preservation and would like to raise awareness on restoring properties to add modern convenience while also keeping the property's historic value. If approved, Jill's term would expire January 1, 2028. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
And Strylen, Branderhorst, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
yes,
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. This time we have an opportunity for a public forum, so anyone wishing to address council regarding any agenda item, please step forward to the mic, state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Heather Van-Hemer-Glenn, and I'm here on behalf of the Lighthouse Foundation. We are just here representing the special event permit that we have requested for the Fight to Freedom 5K for July 30th. We are just trying to bring the light to a really dark subject matter and making it a community event, having local food vendors, local organizations in the community with that can participate, just showing help in what we have in our own community and just bringing that all together and making it a family night. Everybody loves 5Ks, just to kind of jump in, whether it's walking and running, getting local sponsors. We do have a few out of town people that are coming in regards to state representatives that really feel strongly on this, and they just want to, again, show a light to the situation and what the state is doing about it. So I did bring some of our brochures, just if anybody's not familiar with the Lighthouse Foundation, that I'd like to give you, if that's okay, if you may approach. But that's it.
Yeah, you can give them to us. Thanks for your work on this. Okay, anyone else? All right, we'll move on. Can I get a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Support. Branderhorst, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reynolds.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
yes,
Motion passed. Okay, we'll go into a public hearing regarding sanitary sewer CIPP lining project bids. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, for those in attendance and those watching at home, I'd like to direct your attention to the big board for a presentation on this item. As Mayor DeWork stated, tonight's public hearing is on a proposed project, and it's a sanitary sewer lining project for the City of Pella. The project involves lining sanitary sewer mains throughout the community. Actually, it's these red highlighted areas that we have up on the board. It's important to note, as far as the engineer's estimate of probable cost, it was just shy of $292,000. The low bidder, lowest responsible bidder was Municipal Pipe Tool, an amount of $234,475.50. Garden and Associates was the engineer on the project, and they are recommending awarding the bid to Municipal Pipe Tool, who is also the lowest bidder. Staff is also in agreement with this recommendation. Council were to proceed with the construction contract tonight. The final completion for this project would be June 30th, 2026. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I believe that completes the staff presentation on this item.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any written comments, Mandy?
No written comments.
Council, comments, questions? Any comments from a member of the audience? All right, then I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support. Ben Stryland, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Randall.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. So now we move on to the resolution number 6872 entitled Resolution Approving Plan Specifications, Form of Contract, Estimate of Costs, Receiving of Bids, and Making Award of Contract for the Sanitary Sewer CIPP Line Project. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Branderhorst and Stryland. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Randall.
Yes.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. Now move into a public hearing on the proposal to vacate a portion of a public sanitary sewer easement located within the area platted for Prairie Ridge West Plat 1 and Prairie Ridge Epcon Plat 1. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. Tonight's public hearing is on a proposed easement vacation, a sanitary sewer easement vacation. And this is located in the Prairie Ridge West Plat 1 and also the Epcon Plat 1. Now, as background on this, the developer has already rerouted the sewer for the project, but the Epcon development is located right over here. So the yellow highlighted area is the existing easement, which we're not vacating. The red highlighted area is the easement area that is proposed to be vacated tonight. In case you're wondering, the green highlighted area is where the sanitary sewer is currently was relocated to on this as well. Now, important to note, the developer has also already completed the public infrastructure for this project. They've rerouted the sanitary sewer, so this is simply just vacating the existing easement on the plat. This is necessary for the City Council to proceed with final approval of the plat for Epcon Plat number 1, which is scheduled for July 15th of this as well. If council were to vacate the easement prior to then, we'd also be looking at accepting the public infrastructure on that evening as well. So with that, the developer is requesting waiver of the second and third readings of the proposed ordinance, and staff is recommending approval of the ordinance as well.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any written comments?
No written comments.
Council comments? Anybody in the audience have a comment? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So
Second.
Hopkins and Stryland, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
Randall.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. So moving on to the ordinance 1070 entitled an ordinance approving the vacation of a portion of a public sanitary sewer easement located within the area platted for Prairie Ridge West Plat 1 and Prairie Ridge Epcon Plat 1. This is the first reading. Got a motion for approval.
So support.
Ben Stryland, Branderhorst.
Support.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
Randall.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed.
Move to set aside the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
Support. Branderhorst and Stryland. Did you get the motion? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Randall.
Yes.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
aside the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
Hold it, I think we did that already. We need to adopt it.
Did you second and third?
Oh, I have to adopt a second?
We already voted to waive the readings.
Okay,
Now
I'm
we're-
sorry.
Now we're
Okay.
doing the ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Brandon Hopkins, okay? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to public hearing on the proposal to vacate public water main and sanitary sewer easements located on the Pella Corporation property located at 102 Main. Mike?
Hi, yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. As Mayor DeWart stated, what this ordinance does is vacates water and sanitary sewer easements the city is no longer using that are currently located on Pella Corporation's property. A little bit of background on this, why we're considering these easement vacations is on July 15th, the City Council will be considering an environmental covenant with Pella Corporation. This environmental covenant is required by the Environmental Protection Agency, and it simply outlines the procedures the city would need to follow in case we need to access any active easement on the Pella Corporation property. As part of that agreement, we'll have a map that shows the active easements or the existing easements that are currently in place. So it's important prior to adopting or considering this environmental covenant that we clean up and remove any easements that we have on the Pella Corporation property that the city is no longer using. So in essence, that's what this ordinance simply is the city is no longer accessing these easements on the Pella Corporation property. Staff is recommending approval of this ordinance. It is also important to note the applicant is requesting waiver of the second and third readings as well.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any written comments?
No written comments.
Council comments? Any member of the audience?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Spencer.
Sorry for my remoteness. P6 on the drawing, that's not necessary for the future park there at all?
No, it's not, no.
Okay. So vacating these won't hinder the park's development?
No, it's easements that the city is no longer accessing across the Pella Corporation property. So P6, we are no longer accessing that.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments from the audience? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Hopkins, Branderhorst, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to the ordinance number 1071, entitled an ordinance approving the vacation of public water main sanitary sewer easements on the Pella Corporation property located at 102 Main Street. Do I have a motion for approval?
Support.
Hopkins, Branderhorst, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to set aside the rules and place on third and final reading.
Support.
Branderhorst, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to adopt. Support.
Van Strylen, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Okay, moving to a public hearing on the proposal to vacate public water main easements located on the Trigen LLC property located at 102 Main Street. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a very similar request to what we just considered previously for this Trigen and its associated corporation with Pella Corporation. And very similar, the begin, we're going to be considering an environmental covenant with Pella Corporation on July 15. The areas identified in yellow are easements the city currently has on Pella Corporation's property. They're no longer needed for this. And what we're simply doing is vacating public easements that the city no longer needs to access. So once again, staff is recommending approval of this ordinance. In addition, the applicant is also requesting waiver of the second and third readings this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any written comments?
No written comments.
Council comments? Member of the audience, any comments? Yeah, please go ahead.
Not to hold things up, just got one question. The property to the west of that, who owns that? Or is that ever gonna be developable? And if so, does West First Street just belong to Pella Corp now? Because would that water main do any good if somebody ever were developed to the west of that road? Just a curious, just a question.
Well,
There's no water main,
No,
right? It's just
no.
an easement.
It could very well be a paper easement.
Gotcha, I was just curious, that was my only question.
And I don't know who,
I just didn't know if that road is that the Pella Corp's road now? Or is that still, should that be a road for the
well,
city?
it's just, no, it's still the city street.
Okay. Well, it says private drive when you go down that road, I just wanted to ask.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Support. Van Strylen, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Okay, moving to the ordinance number 1072 entitled an ordinance approving the vacation of water main easements on the Trigen LLC property located at 102 Main Street. Can I get a motion for approval?
So,
Support.
so moved.
Reindeerhorst, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to set aside the rules and place on third and final reading.
Support. Reindeerhorst, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to adopt.
Support. Van Strylen, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving to a public hearing regarding a rezoning application to amend a previously approved planned unit development, a PUD, for the development known as Vintage Estates. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. As Mayor DeWart stated, what we have is a proposed amendment to previously approved planned unit development agreement for Harvest Investments. As background on it, this request tonight comes from the property owners of the development, and I believe that is the estates of Pella as well. So with this, I would also like to state, as council is well aware, that anytime you're talking about planned unit developments, that's a negotiated development, and this was the case with Vintage Estates on this. And through the development process, the easiest way to look at this is the development includes some enhancements that are above city code requirements. Likewise, there's usually waivers of the city zoning codes that allows the development to happen. I want to point out, as far as those zoning code waivers, there's no additional waivers being considered this evening. This request is coming to us from the property owners. It is simply to change the exhibit on the existing planned unit development. The planned unit development is required to develop in accordance with Exhibit A on the agreement. And currently Exhibit A is one lot here. Vintage Estates, what's being proposed for this is to subdivide the lots into 22 buildable lots that we have right here. So that's the only change that we have on here as well. We do have some further descriptions of this proposed rezoning this evening. So let's go ahead, please, Mandy. Now, in summary, staff believes the proposed PUD amendment that we're considering this evening meets the zoning code requirements and is also in conformance with the city's comprehensive plan. Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this ordinance at their May 27th meeting. Staff is recommending approval this evening. It is also important to note that the property owners are requesting waiver of the second and third readings as well this evening. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes the staff presentation. Be more than happy to answer any questions the council may have on this item.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any written comments?
No written comments.
Council, comments, questions? Any member of the audience have a comment about this item?
Dwight Young, 2509 Sculpey Strad. I don't understand. Those houses are so close together. I can't believe that they meet our normal zoning requirements. Could you explain that to me?
I'd be happy to, Mr. Young. On that, keep in mind, when this development was originally approved, I believe we had up there, it was previously approved by the council in 2019. A planned unit development is a negotiated development, and please keep in mind that there's aspects of this development that's above and beyond city code requirements. For instance, when we approved this development, we had design criteria for these homes on there. That's not typically required for residential property. That was an enhancement for the city of Pella. Likewise, there was also zoning modifications or zoning waivers that were originally approved by the city council in 2019 that allowed a higher density in the development and allowed the development to occur. So the zoning code was modified to allow the development to proceed and be finalized by the city council.
Can we expect other developments in town to have houses this close together?
Well, let me back up. Planned unit developments are identified for developments that are a high priority of the city council. And housing back in 2019 was a key priority for the city council, just like it is currently on this as well. When we looked at the development on this one, and proposed to the city at the time, housing for individuals 55 years and above an age that were looking to right size their housing needs, we felt there was a significant need in Pella for that at the time. And so it was a key strategic priority for the city of Pella, and that's one of the reasons why the PUD was approved.
Well, can we expect further development in town like this, 55 and over or not? It seems like we're going to a far denser
The answer to that,
far denser housing than before.
yeah, the answer to that question is potentially that needs to be a key strategic priority of the city of Pella. So it really depends what the developer is proposing and how big of a need it is to the city of Pella on it. PUDs are frequently asked for. The ones that are chosen to proceed are usually the ones that are clear strategic priorities of the city of Pella on it as well. So what I can tell you is, yes, it's likely going to be requested in the future, and it's up to the city council for you to proceed with them, but it's quite possible there may be additional PUDs in the future.
Well, it looks to me like the developer's taking advantage of us, and did he always plan on this in the originally? Because I looked at those houses originally, and they, you got a joint swimming pool and clubhouse and everything else, and it looks like he's taking advantage of us on the zoning. I don't approve of it.
Okay, anyone else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support. Horst Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving to the ordinance number 1073, entitled an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Pella, Iowa by amending the Harvest Investments PUD ordinance. This is the first reading. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support. Horst Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
Butler. Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to set aside the rules and place on third and final reading.
Support. Horst Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen,
Yes.
to adopt.
Support. Brander, Horstman, Stryland. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. I was hoping Irv was still awake. That's good. You can sleep well, you can sleep well tonight. All right, moving to special event permit request for Fight for Freedom 5K.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the Lighthouse Foundation has applied for a special event that's proposed to occur on July 30th from 5 to 10 p.m. Now, as stated, this is a proposed 5K walk that would start at the Tulip Fort, and we do have the route identified up on the big board as well. And now, as part of this, a resolution is requested to close the streets that we have listed up here: Broadway Street, Franklin Street, and the race route from 5 p.m. as soon as the race concludes. It is important to note that all city departments have reviewed this application as well as the proposed street closures that's associated with this event. The city has received the applicable fee and insurance certificate as well, and staff is recommending approval this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support. Van Strylen, Hopkins, any discussion?
I would say that this group, this is their first event, and I hope we can support it. I hope the city supports it, because this is a big problem that is pretty well hidden out of sight. But Iowa's got a big problem with it because we have I-80 and I-35, and I've seen a movie called Grid Shock, which was made by an Iowa State student, and she featured ladies who have been trafficked in Iowa, just those people. And it's heartbreaking, it's just heartbreaking that people treat people that way. So this is a big effort that they're putting out. I hope we can support it.
Thank you, John. Okay, anything else? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on to resolution number 6873, entitled Resolution Temporarily Closing Public Ways or Grounds in Connection with a Special Event Known as Fight for Freedom 5K. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Brander, Horstman, Stryland, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Reindeerhorst.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes. Motion passed. Moving on to resolution number 6874, entitled Resolution Approving Preliminary Plat for Vintage Estates, Plat 1. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. As Mayor DeWart stated, we're proposing what's being proposed this evening is a preliminary plat for Vintage Estates. This was the subdivision that we approved earlier this evening, the amendment to the planned unit development. Now, overall, what we have is a development that's approximately 15.1 acres and 22 single-family lots. Really, the purpose of this plat is to be able to subdivide these individual lots. Currently, this is located on one parcel. With this preliminary plat, as council is aware, is often the plat that identifies the overall infrastructure required for the development as far as the public infrastructure is concerned. So it's the overall game plans. There'll be a final plat as the development proceeds that would actually approve the actual subdivision of the proposed lots. But according to city code, you have to consider two plats, the preliminary plat and the final plat this evening. Now let's go ahead, please, Mandy. It is important to note that with staff believes with the criteria that we use to judge whether to approve the preliminary plat or not, we believe the development is in conformance with the city's comprehensive plan. We also believe that the proposed plat aligns with the city's zoning code as well, in addition to the subdivision code. And we are recommending approval this evening. Planning and Zoning Commission did review this preliminary plat from the May 27th meeting, and also unanimously as well. And once again, staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Brander, Horstman, Stryland, any discussion?
Are there any shared utilities between any of the proposed properties? Water, sewer?
Service lines?
Service lines, yeah.
We don't believe so. Each one should have their existing or existing service lines, or their own service lines rather.
Okay, anything else? All right, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Rayner,
Yes.
Dan Stryland,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on, resolution number 6875, entitled Resolution Appointing UMB Bank N.A. of West Des Moines, Iowa to serve as paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent, approving the paying agent, bond registrar, and transfer agent agreement, and authorizing the execution of the agreement. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the presentation that we have this evening is for items G2 and G3 on tonight's agenda. With this, overall, these items are necessary for the city to issue for the city to issue $15,610,000 in local option sales and services tax revenue bonds to support the construction of the Pella Indoor Recreation Center. As Mayor DeWard stated, the first resolution is actually approves UMB Bank as the paying agent, bond register, and the transfer agent for the bond. Second resolution that we have this evening, which is G3, authorizes the issuance of the bonds and approves the tax exempt certificate as well as the continuing disclosure certificate. It is important to note, as far as the bond issue is concerned, overall the city has proposed, well, actually the interest rate on the bond is 4.54%. The term of the bond is 18 and a half years, but the city has retained a call provision after 8 years of the bond, so this will be reevaluated after 8 years of the bond as well. Now, it is important to note that this is the final action that needs to be taken, legislative action to be taken by the City Council in order to be able to issue these bonds. And staff is recommending approval of both resolutions on tonight's agenda. So with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes the staff presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Hopkins, Branderhorst, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Rayner,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
Motion passed. Resolution number 6876, entitled Resolution Authorizing and Providing for the Issuance and Securing the Payment of $15,610,000 of local option sales and services tax revenue bonds, Series 2025A of the City of Pella, State of Iowa, under the provisions of the Code of Iowa, and providing for a method of payment of the bonds. Nothing to add, I'm sure, Mike, so I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Support.
Hopkins, Branderhorst, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins,
Yes.
Rayner,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Carlstone,
Yes.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
Motion passed. Resolution number 6877, entitled Resolution Approving Airport Infrastructure Grant Agreement, number 3-19-0112-017-2025 with the Federal Aviation Administration. Mike?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to explain this item. As Mayor DeWard stated, what this resolution does is approves the grant agreement with the Federal Aviation Administration. The purpose of the grant is to update the Pella Municipal Airport's master plan. And when we talk about the master plan for the airport, we're talking about improvements that are going to be necessary at the airport to support the aviation demand over the next 20 years. Now, overall, in terms of the grant, as far as what's being proposed, the total project cost of the master plan is roughly $345,000. Tonight's grant that we're considering with the FAA supports funding up to 95%. Well, it's 95% of the total amount of the project, which is $327,750. The city's responsibility is right at $17,250. Now, as a part of this, the bigger picture on this, in order for larger scale improvements to occur at the Pella Municipal Airport, the city needs to have an updated master plan as well as an airport layout plan, which is associated with this as well. When we talk about larger improvements, this could be redoing the Pella runway. This could be installing a parallel taxiway at the airport. In order for those projects to be eligible for federal funding on it, we need to have, once again, an updated master plan. So this resolution actually approves the grant agreement and also authorizes the city administrator and gives the permission for the city administrator to execute and administer the grant on behalf of the city of Pella. So with that, that concludes the staff presentation, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Mike. Can I get a motion for approval? Brander,
Support.
Hopkins. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone. Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Moving on, ordinance number 1074, entitled an ordinance amending section 41.12 fireworks of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Pella by repealing and replacing the same. And this is the first reading.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as background on this ordinance amends the city code that pertains to fireworks usage. And it's really intended to align with Iowa code, which prohibits cities from regulating fireworks use on July 3rd. We have from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., July 4th from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., and on December 31st and carries on to January 1st of each year as well. Now with this ordinance was drafted by the city attorney, and as a result, since the new state law went into effect on July 1st of this year, the city attorney is recommending that we waive the second and third readings of this proposed ordinance as well. So with that concludes the staff presentation. We're happy to answer any questions the council may have on this item.
All right, can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Support.
Van Strylen, Branderhorst, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to set aside the rules and place on third and final reading.
Support.
Branderhorst, Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Move to adopt.
Van Strylen,
Support.
Hopkins, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone.
Yes.
I think that was a yes. Motion passed. Motion for approval of the abstract of bills number 2178.
Move to approve and issue warrants.
Support.
Branderhorst, Hopkins, any discussion, questions? All right, all in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Vanderhorst.
Yes.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Van Strylen.
Yes.
Butler. Carlstone.
Yes.
Motion passed. Any council have any other business you want to have addressed this evening? Any member of the public have any other business you'd like to address council with this evening? If so, please come to that microphone, state your name, address. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes.
Dwight Young, 2509 Schofield Street. Back to the planned unit development there. Will that become a city street?
Within the development on that, that's a private drive. So
I thought what did we do?
entering the development, the street that you're talking about right here, I believe is a private drive down through here, but it was built according to city and public infrastructure standards.
But I thought we just made those houses, we're taking it out of the private.
It was
section.
on one parcel of that we did. What the PUD amendment did not request any additional waivers, it simply changed exhibit A of the diagram that you have up there. It has actually lots that we have up here as well.
So that's a city street with the turnaround and the other is still
Yeah.
private.
Within the development, that is a private drive, that is correct.
Strange. Okay, to change the subject, electrical distribution to Boss Landon. We had a power outage the other day for about 2 hours and 20 minutes or so. I think a limb fell down on the overhead distribution lines. We've had the conduit in place for about a year. The conduit's there, but there's no wire in it, and so we don't have any underground power. Could you please explain when we're going to have underground power?
I'd like to ask if our electric director, Nate Spurgeon, is on the line and if he could answer that question.
He is just a second. Takes just a little bit to unmute. Should be now.
Nate, are you on?
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, did you hear the question?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
The answer to that question is we had supply chain issues. We had the contract let around the same time as all of the cable that was let. The cable was part of the post-pandemic supply chain issues, lots of rubber issues, lots of precious metals, including aluminum and copper issues, that put that at about a 1.5 to 2 year delay. I will say that some of the cable just arrived in this past week, but not all of it, so we're not able to do the entire thing. But we will have the remainder of that cable coming here within the next couple of months, and we'll hopefully get that stuff lit up this fall.
It seems strange that we had the conduit for a year and we don't have the cable. And would certainly like to have underground power distribution. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I passed up, I'm sorry, I was not right on it when you asked for city council. This letter here, and I've heard about this and from other people about the McDonald's design that was approved by the CDC, and I haven't seen a picture of it myself, but the claim is that there's no Dutch features on the building, and how do we address that problem?
Well, we still have to approve, the council still has to approve the final.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just say, actually, the design, Jerry, I believe CDC has addressed this issue as far as the design on the new McDonald's. If you could please answer Councilmember Butler's question.
Sure, Councilman Butler. The CDC has reviewed the McDonald's. It is not approved yet. The location of the McDonald's restaurant, which is at the Walmart site, is what we call in the transitional area. Downtown, our 4 Central Business District is what we call traditional Dutch. Out toward Prairie Ridge is what we call modern Dutch. The transitional zone basically between the two allows a mix of either or. So at this point in time, McDonald's has chosen to go with more of a on the market type design, which uses shed roofs, and it does meet the current criteria of our architectural guidelines under the modern aspect. So that was a choice the developer made. So the CDC is currently reviewing it, and we're looking at some enhancement for facade basically right now.
Okay, because Walmart does influence, and every other building along there does.
You are absolutely correct. However, the guidelines that were approved by the city council do call that as a transitional zone, which allows a mix of both. This will be our first actual commercial establishment that does have the non-traditional architectural elements. So, but it is allowed under current guidelines.
So going on Quick Star, have we approved their design yet?
Their design was approved last year, yes. It would not come to city council.
Okay. Well, isn't Casey's out there? They have Dutch elements.
Casey does have Dutch elements also. The Chick-fil-A has more of a modern Dutch.
So city council basically has no control over this.
As it's currently set up, you are correct.
Well, Jerry just answered the question. City council approves the CDC design manual, which sets the policy and guidelines for CDC to follow when approving commercial building designs, correct?
That is correct. The CDC is looking at issues with design review permit.
So, in answer, the way to look at this is, city council approves the design standards that CDC administers on it. So as long as they're within those guidelines, CDC can issue, that's the Community Development Committee, for those in attendance, can issue the design permit on this, but the city council does not review design building permits or approve that. That's been delegated to CDC.
Well, they better be ready to do a whole lot of explaining because there's been a lot of comments.
understand, again, these are city council approved design guidelines. So if there is something that you would like the CDC or staff to look at, it is a recommendation that we would gladly undertake to possibly modify the zones or modify the criteria. That is absolutely at the discretion of council to direct staff to do that.
So do you recall when I recall the discussion about changing the design and having different zones that allowed for different things? When did that just happen?
That was about almost 2 years ago.
Yeah,
believe it or
I
not.
was gonna say about 2 years ago, yeah. And so when you talk about Walmart and everybody else, that was under the old set of standards, and now we are under a new set of standards. And there was a lot of discussion about it. But city council approved the new standards, yes.
So was it, okay, 2 years ago, well, I
I don't think you were on council at the time. Okay. Anything else? All right, we'll move into our policy and planning to discuss a couple potential developments. Mike?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. As Mayor DeWard stated, is we have two proposed housing developments for the city of Pella. That is proposed Fountain Hills Subdivision 4 and the Fox Ridge Housing Subdivision. Now, it's important to note that when we talk about housing within the city of Pella, and we talk about potential development agreements with developers, we always want to check and make sure that housing is still needed within the community. Marion County recently had a housing study from Marion County in the Pella submarket that identified roughly 1,200 additional housing units that would need to be built through the year 2035 to meet housing demand within our community. And so when we talk about housing needs and the needs of the city, we really have a couple things. One of them is the housing study, and that's really the main one that we rely on in judging whether the city needs or continues to need housing within our community. The other one that we typically employ at the staff level is what's called the number of buildable lots that we have in the community. Now, as a tried and true method throughout the years, what's recommended in your community is you have somewhere between 3 to 5 years worth of buildable lots within your community or within inventory. The reason for that is these subdivisions that we talk about, particularly new subdivisions that are within greenfield developments, or if you were to drive out there and look at these developments, it's either a greenfield or it's an ag field. But it typically it takes about 3 years before you're able to start selling lots within a new subdivision. Usually what happens is in the first year is the design of the subdivision. That's all the engineering work that happens with it. The second year is roughly the city's legislative process, as well as going through the legislative process and also constructing the infrastructure. In year 3, you're able to start finally selling lots within the subdivision. So that's the reason for the recommended 3 to 5 years. Now, typically, we average somewhere between 45 to 60 housing permits on an annual basis for the city of Pella. That means that we should have an inventory of 135 to 225 buildable lots. Now, currently, when we count in the existing multifamily housing units, we have 94 buildable lots. The actual number of single-family home subdivision lots that we have is actually about 70 on hand right now. So, according to the buildable lots inventory, we're still below where we should be as far as an inventory supply. So please keep that in mind as we talk about these housing developments this evening. Mandy, let's go ahead, please. Now, as far as the key financial terms for the development, it's very important to note that proposed development agreements is the same concept for both developments. Now, I would also state when we talk about tax increment financing and rebating of the developer, very important to note that most of the risk in development under these development agreements are transferred or borne by the developer with this as well. Now, what tax increment financing involves, if you're to drive out to these developments right now, it's bare ground out there. What TIF involves is we're going to capture the increment value or the property taxes that are built on the new homes within the development, and we're going to use a portion of those taxes to rebate back to the developer to reimburse them for the cost of the public infrastructure with this. Now, with these developments, equally important to know that developers, based off their financial models, believe it's going to take about a full 15 years for them to recoup their investment on the public infrastructure. So what they've requested is a 5-year extension on the tax increment financing. This districts. Now, as council is aware, for members in the audience may not be, under state law, the city can issue a tax increment financing district or an urban renewal district for up to 10 years. If the school district and if Marion County were to agree to it, we can issue an additional 5 years for a total of 15 years. Now, looking at the models by the developers and the cost of the public infrastructure, once again, we believe that it will take an additional 15 years for the developer to recapture their investment to be fully paid back for the public infrastructure as well. We're going to explain that here very soon. So let's go ahead, please, Mandy. Now, one of the reasons why it takes 15 years as opposed to 10 years is the state also has some additional requirements and states that if you're not building low and moderate income housing, which this is not, on it, any award that we give to the developer, we also have to give the equivalent of 33% or set aside 3% for the new property taxes within these developments and spend on low and moderate income housing within the city of Pella. Now, when we talk about low and moderate income housing, this would be household incomes no greater than 80% of the median income in Marion County on it as well. So with these developments, an easy example is if you had a TIF award of roughly right around $1 million to the development, we would be required to have an LMI set aside of $333,000. What that means to the developer is it isn't simply generating property taxes on the new development to pay them back for the infrastructure $1 million. They really have to have $1,333,000 because they have to take care of the public infrastructure plus the LMI. That's the reason for the 15 years is the state's LMI requirements on this as well. So that's an important concept to keep in mind with the developer's request. So let's go ahead, please, Mandy. Let's talk about Fountain Hills first. This is being proposed by Mr. Larry DeVries, and basically what it involves is 47 new lots that would be on the north end of Fountain Hills on here as well. And these homes would be single-family residential, and they're zoned R1, and it would be a continuation of the Fountain Hills development as well. So let's go ahead, please, Mandy. Now, as far as the cost of the public infrastructure, we have an estimated cost of $2.3 million for the public infrastructure. The developer is requesting a 15-year TIF district to be able to recoup their investment on the public infrastructure. What's being proposed is to take a portion of the property taxes from the new homes that would be built in Fountain Hills and rebate the developer for the cost of the public infrastructure. We would also have to fund an LMI, so if the developer, the way TIF works is the city through the development agreement would only be rebating back the property taxes it receives from the development. So if no homes are built on the development, the city doesn't receive any property taxes, the developer doesn't get a reimbursement on it. But in this case, if the developer is reimbursed $2.3 million, that development is going to have to generate an additional $775,000 for low and moderate income housing. And with low and moderate income housing, we can spend that anywhere in Pella that has low and moderate income housing. So eventually, as these developments proceed and start getting into about years 7 or 8, we should be building up a solid amount of LMI funds to be used throughout our community in order to promote low and moderate income housing within Pella. So the first development is Fountain Hills 4, and before we proceed to the Fox Ridge development, is there any questions that council has on this proposed development?
I thought we provided or approved Fountain Hills, was that 3? It seemed like some time ago we voted on, and Larry was here to get the TIF arrangement on a development out there.
I'm not sure we've talked about the economic development request. You know, we may have voted on a preliminary plat for Fountain Hills 3. But the economic development, the way they're closely associated, when we meet with developers, Mr. Butler, we talk about the zoning code requirements, subdivision code requirements, along with economic development requests. So it's quite possible in this development that we've addressed a preliminary plan and developers proceeded at their own risk without a development agreement for the economic development incentives.
So, how many TIF arrangements do we have? Because LMI is relatively new, isn't it? No?
No, the LMI has been a state requirement for some time.
Okay, so do we have any TIF arrangements that are putting money into that account now?
Yes, most of the city's housing subdivisions are currently putting money into the LMI. keep in mind the way property taxes in Iowa works. Once you have a new home that's built, it takes about 18 months to generate property taxes on this. And so even though there's been quite a bit of development in Pella, the LMI funds are just now starting to, for developments that are more mature, like Boss Ridge, Prairie Ridge out there. Well, Prairie Ridge, Marion County is collecting the LMI on Prairie Ridge, so that's a poor example. But almost all our new housing subdivisions have an LMI requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Also keep in mind that as right now, the developers in both cases are still estimating the public infrastructure. So we think it's about 2.3 million without, once again, how the arrangement works, developer goes, they install all the public infrastructure, they dedicate it to the City of Pella. Those are requirements in the development agreement, and if there's houses built on the development, they get rebated back the property taxes to reimburse them to the public infrastructure. But they also have to fund the LMI requirement as well. So,
I have one more question. Is there any limit to the number of TIF arrangements we can issue?
no, from a practical standpoint, this is the way I view TIF. A, economic development incentives and TIF. The answer to your question is no, there's not. We can have TIF agreements, but they need to be a key strategic priority for the City of Pella.
Excuse me, they need to be what?
They need to be a strategic priority of the City Council. Two, we always need to ask ourselves, would the development occur anyway without the economic development incentives? That's probably debatable, to be honest with you. Most of the developers that we deal with, the development would not occur without some assurance or development agreement discussions with staff or some level of that. That's what we've been led to believe. And that's simply because of the cost of the public infrastructure. So A, they need to be a strategic priority, and then two, we need to ask the question, would the development occur regardless of this? We do not believe that would be the case for these developments to proceed without it. The third item that we have from a practical standpoint, and the way we look at it, is when you look at the new housing, residents coming on board, most of the taxes being rebated back to the developer to fund both the public infrastructure and LMI requirements over the next 15 years. We want to make sure that we can continue to serve these developments and it does not trigger any unnecessary, unexpected costs in our public safety departments, or public works departments, as far as additional cost on it. So far, what we've been able to look at in our analysis is we believe that we can serve these developments with relatively low incremental costs, additional costs to serve these developments without being a burden on the general tax base. So I think those are three requirements, so that, not three requirements, those are three criteria that we utilize and analyze on it. And we believe that's still the case with these two developments, that we can continue to serve that without a significant cost increase in our public safety departments and public works as well. Good question.
Okay. I know that at some point we're gonna have a water problem. Get enough water out to these places. I'm already hearing about low water pressure in some areas. And so there's, those kinds of problems are expensive to fix. Pressure.
Yeah, let me address that on it. As far as the city system, I'm not aware of anyone having low water pressure. Fountain Hills 4, that is within the city's water territory, so we believe that we have adequate water pressure.
Well, maybe it's Iowa rural water.
That, yes, I also would say IRUA is currently in the process of trying to search for a site for a new water tower on the western side of Pella. So yes, that is an issue that does need to be addressed. You're correct. Okay, let's go ahead with Fox Ridge, and this is a continuation of the development that's being proposed by Mr. Jeff Dingaman, and the project is located just north of Washington Street on West 12th Street, and we do have the preliminary concept plan for council's review as well. Now, as far as the development as a whole, it involves 9 lots that are zoned 2-family residential and 2 lots that are zoned R3, which is multifamily. Now, what's being proposed by the developer is up to 85 multifamily housing units that could be zoned up to R3 and 18 duplexes, which could be zoned R2. So as far as the housing with that as well, it's geared for more towards the 2-family and multifamily development. Let's go ahead, please, Mandy. Now, as far as the development is concerned, very similar to Fountain Hills on this as well. The estimated cost of public infrastructure, this is probably a little bit light. Right now it's at $950, but there's a chance that what we have from the developer, there could be an additional $15,000 of cost. So by the time this makes it to the city council, it could be up to $965. The concept's still the same with the developer on this is, again, the developer would have to put in the infrastructure, dedicate it to the city of Pella, and then if there's housing units that are built on this development within the next 15 years, a portion of those property taxes would be rebated back to the developer. And the developer would also, out of that, if they're reimbursed the whole $949, in this case, they would also have to generate an additional $320,000 in LMI funds as well. So with that, again, before this is presented for formal consideration by the city council, is there any questions on the Fox Ridge development?
Well, not specifically on that, I'm sorry, but the, 15 years goes by and they recoup their infrastructure costs, they're just done, right? It's done.
Yeah, it's done after 15 years.
Well, I hope they
And then it rolls into the regular tax bill.
So that would be the risk. That'd be a big risk.
developer
The
risk,
developer
yes.
carries the risk.
Yeah, get that bill and get it, reduce it. Yeah, I see that.
Okay, any other questions? I assume these will be coming up for approval in the near future.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, anything else on, any updates on any of these projects?
Yeah, these are items that we anticipate addressing with the city council. Actually, one of them, the Timberview Park, is currently on hold at the request of the family, so we can remove that item from the immediate future for the city council. But we anticipate in the next 60 days there'll be discussion on lead service lines within Pella's water service lines. In addition, we also anticipate addressing the Pella Dog Park on that as well. And then we will also have a discussion of the Kiwanis tennis courts as well, is what we have planned.
Has there been any further guidance on the lead service lines from federal government?
Now, that's why it keeps being shown up to 60 days. We'd like to have that federal guidance or some sort of development on it before we bring back the discussion again to the city council.
All right. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Hopkins? And Schreiler? All in favor, please say yes. Opposed, no. Mandy, please call the roll.
Hopkins.
Yes.
Dan Stryland.
Yes.
Randall.
Yes.
Butler.
Yes.
Carlstone. Carlstone.
Did he drop off? He may have. Motion passed, we are adjourned.